Hey everybody, it's me again, Ivan Van Norman. So I'm going to start with the GM School segment on my channel, and I'm ready to kind of talk to you a little bit about tips and tricks on how to be a good GM, or if you're thinking about becoming a GM, some things that might help you in your journeys to telling some of the best stories and running some of the best games for your group of friends. Some of these things you might already know, and some of them, might be worth learning again. Who knows, They say that you never learn something just once. You have to learn it several times for it really to sink in. So hopefully these tips and tricks will be helpful to you. I am not a master GM, as some people say, but I have run my fair share of games, and if there's one thing I like to do, it's tell a good story. So, anyway, on with the bit. So one of the things that I think is key to running a good game is how do you use your verbiage. Now, this is essentially your use of words when describing a scenario or imparting your vision to your players. Now, this might seem like role-playing 101, and in many ways it is, but just like a martial artist, the first thing they learn usually is a sidekick, and usually the last thing they master is a sidekick. So, in my opinion, verbiage is the same way. You learn it quickly, but you never truly master it until the very end. So, here's some ideas and here's some things that I do that help me create a really vivid picture for my players without bogging it down too much by making it too fluffy. Okay, so the basic things to keep in mind when doing good verbiage is placement, tone, and details. These are really the core elements inside of doing a good description for a room for your players or for your group. Now, I usually like to start a campaign or start an encounter with an opening description of items that are of particular importance in there. So say, for example, they are in a dungeon, alright? You can start by just saying, well, it's a 10-foot by 10-foot room and there's a stone sarcophagus in the center. That's the basic information that you can give them to really give them an idea of what's around there. And you're only really utilizing sight. Now, if you want to break that down and create a stronger sense of drama into the room, you first utilize more senses than just sight. So say, for example, they walk into a dungeon and the room reeks of mildew the way that a wet towel does when you first dry yourself off getting out of the shower. Or maybe it has a tinge of sulfur. Maybe if you plan on putting a demon or something in there later, you can plant little seeds of forewarning or foreshadowing into your rooms. So smell is obviously a strong sense memory. You can also utilize touch. Maybe the walls of the dungeon are greasy because they're covered in algae and mildew. That would give them an idea that there's water inside of the room. Or maybe, there was a volcanic eruption at some point in there and there's still obsidian glass, so the floors feel smooth from leftover obsidian that's inside of the area. Or when you describe the sarcophagus in the center, you can say that it is a sarcophagus that is in pristine condition with no damage or wear or weather-torn element to it at all. That would give it a mysterious idea, especially if you had already described the room as pretty battered up and weather-torn. That would give them a concept that the sarcophagus is maybe newer than the room itself. So, and that all ties into the element of details. So when thinking about a place, think about what details do I want my players to know, and how do I tell them these details without outright telling them, oh, the sarcophagus is newer than the room. And then the final real good time to use it is when players make actions, when they actually do things, giving them a strong description of something that they can keep in mind, that they can imagine, when they're doing fantastic things in your world. Combat is kind of the most, the best example in which to use that type of stuff. So you roll a dice, they hit, and they do damage. Okay, well, instead of saying, okay, well, I did 8 damage to the ogre, they picked up their sword and they sliced through the armor of the ogre, and they watch as blood swills down the front of their chest. That's way cooler than just, hey, I did 8 hit points of damage. Come up with creative and unique means in which to describe the actions that your players do, instead of leaving it up to them. Now, if they have awesome ways to describe the stuff that they do, then that's the best situation, because that's them getting involved in your campaign. But otherwise, it doesn't hurt to give them a little bit of push, just to say, hey, you know what? Your player can do some cool things. Let me show you what they're capable of. And don't be afraid. Like, maybe you're not describing it perfectly, and they're certainly not going to call you out on, well, no, I didn't slash the ogre across the chest. I stabbed him right through the gut. And if they do that, be like, all right, cool. You stabbed him through the gut. Did 8 points of damage. Next round, you know? Just roll with it, have fun, and remember that you are making an experience for your players, and you are helping tell the story using their actions. Well, that's it for now, and I think we'll do some more later, but this is the first of many, so give me your feedback. Let me know if it's something you think is good. I know these might run a little long, but I'm hoping that with some time I will get this down to a pretty fine art. And shoot me some comments of what you think you'd like me to cover as well, too. Alright? See you next time.